Hi, I'm Susan Platt, and welcome to another episode of Platitudes, Find Your Roar. I'm here today with Frye, right outside Richmond. V is and has been the chair of the Rural Caucus almost since inception. And V also is a big advocate for solar energy. And V, I want to talk to you about today about when you found your roar, one of them, I'm sure, being chair of the Rural Caucus, and what that means to you and what that means to the folks that live in rural Virginia, which is classified basically as nearly 90% of the land coverage of Virginia is considered rural Virginia. Not the population,
correct,
but the land. So tell me about your roar.
I found my roar thanks to Clark Mercer, who asked me a long time ago if I would help be the voice of rural Virginians. Rural Virginians a lot of times feel that they don't have a voice. And so we organized about 5.5 years ago. We help committees who feel that nobody is listening to them. We help them be heard. We help find candidates. We help train the candidates. We get them what they need. We teach them how to be better committees. And we help, mostly, we give rural committees their roar. So I'm helping use my voice to help others have their voice and feel that they're being heard, not just in Richmond, but around the country, because Virginia's Rural Caucus is a model for rural caucuses around the country.
In what way do rural Virginians feel they're not being heard? Now, I know the lack of health care, the lack of broadband, the lack of jobs, but a lot of rural Virginia voted for Donald Trump and voted Republican. How do you think they're feeling now, and can we listen better?
That's the thing. A lot of the reason they voted for Trump is they felt they weren't being heard. And so we need to do a better job going out into the community, one-on-one, women to women, men to men, but really women to women where we go grocery shopping, where we get our hair and nails done, and talk to our friends who live the same life we do about those basic kitchen table issues, infrastructure. You know, when the school that your child goes to is crumbling, my next door neighbor's child goes to the same school. She can understand the same issues I have. Lack of health care, which for me personally is my big issue. We can listen better, and as a party we need to listen better, and that's my goal as chair of rural, is to listen to the people in the community and help them understand that Democrats do listen, we do pay attention, and we are the ones who will help them. It's not just platitudes. I think Trump has disappointed them. It's all talk. He said whatever they wanted to hear to get elected, but he hasn't helped them.
You know, last year when I was in visiting the coal fields, a number of them, I was around a table with a number of men and women, but primarily older men, and they said that yes, they voted for Donald Trump. They knew that he wasn't going to be able to bring coal back the way it used to be, but they felt he understood them and he listened to them. How can we engage people more in rural Virginia, as you're doing, but even more younger people as well, on how we can listen better and then enact some different policies to help that area economically and in the health field and transportation and broadband?
Those are issues that some of our younger, newer members of the House of Delegates have been wonderful about, and we're going to show them. I think that those issues, yes, they did know that he was never going to fix coal back the way it was because the world has changed. And I think things like what I do with solar, which is to bring a new type of job and get job training for rural constituents. If somebody used to be a coal miner, perhaps they are no longer in the workforce, but we can help their children, their grandchildren, their nieces, their nephews, and if they're young enough, we certainly can help them get trained for a new kind of economy, because the largest field as far as what's growing in rural areas is renewable energy jobs.
Sure.
So when we bring jobs, all of a sudden those other issues get answered. Then there is money in a community for things like broadband, for things like improving school, for things like getting help for the opioid crisis. And again, when there's money, which is where everything flows from, we can get people to listen better because they see the value of listening to rural people.
What more can we do to bring back younger people who have left? I heard many stories, and I know you've heard this time and time again, on mothers and fathers and grandparents that their kids have left. They've left rural Virginia. They've left the bucolic Shenandoah Valley and the Blue Ridge Mountains to other places that are better economically. How can we get them back and talk to them more about values that we all share?
The thing is if we bring the jobs to those rural localities, then they will come back. And things like jobs in solar and wind technology are excellent paying jobs. With excellent paying jobs like renewable energy jobs come jobs in things like data centers. Again, very high paying jobs that require a technical background. And in Virginia, we've got lots of data centers and we have room for lots more. Most of the data in the United States flows through Virginia. And we can build these renewable energy facilities in rural localities because that's where the land is. In a city, you don't build a solar farm. But out in Southwest or in Southside or in Chesapeake, you can build these facilities and with them bring good jobs, which bring the kids back so that now the kids can live near mom and dad and raise their own kids.
You talked about your kids, and we just discussed the horror at the synagogue in Squirrel Hill, Pittsburgh, outside my hometown. And you talked about talking to your daughter about it. We've changed a lot in this country in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
What do you think we do about it?
I think that we have to vote out the people who don't represent us. I cannot believe that the hatred that I'm seeing represents us. That's not who this country is. That's not the country that my grandparents came to, the survivors of the Holocaust came to. The Statue of Liberty meant something to that generation.
When did they come?
I am second generation American. So we haven't been here that long. And I'm very envious of people in Virginia who can trace their roots, like my husband, to before there was the United States. I envy knowing where you come from in that way. My kids need to feel safe. Everybody's kids need to feel safe. So if we elect people who actually understand us and appreciate what immigrants bring, and immigrants built this country, they did the jobs nobody else wanted to do, then we have a great country again. Then we can have those shared values. But when we elect people who just are loud and yell the worst kind of hate, that does not make this country great. It makes this country sad, a sad place. We're better than this. So I think the answer is use your voice, use your roar, get out there and elect Democrats who represent what you value.
You talked about your daughter. What did she say to you on the phone?
She was very angry. She was hurt. She was angry. Both of my daughters know people in Pittsburgh. My youngest daughter started a youth group trip across the country at Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, and she's crushed by the lack. Her biggest anger was at Donald Trump, not understanding that the answer is not to bring guns into houses of worship, that that's a safe space. That's always been our sanctuary for any faith. And the fact that he thinks the answer is to bring guns there, that's not right. She was just so frustrated about guns. She used to live in Aurora and lived through that.
Aurora,
Colorado. And frustrated at the lack of empathy by people, in elected office. We needed somebody to be the consoler in chief and not to place blame.
So organizing in rural Virginia is a little harder than organizing in more urban areas. How do you do it? What's the trick?
One-on-one. Go talk to people in the grocery store. I am notorious. It's hard to believe, but I am kind of a shy person. It's nobody who knows me would ever say you're a shy, but I am kind of a shy person. But I talk to every person. If I go into McDonald's to get a cup of coffee, I talk to the people at the counter. When I'm in line at the grocery store, I had a case where I was buying some eye drops at Walmart, and the woman checking me out was sobbing. and she was sobbing because they had cut her hours back, so she lost her health insurance. I talk to everybody one-on-one. Those one-on-one contacts we have, those are the real deal. Those are when people look you in the eye and know who you are. And know that if you say you're a Democrat or you're supporting a certain candidate, there must be a reason why. You don't have horns and a tail. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's something about that candidate I should look at. Maybe there's something about a policy I should look at, because that person who I checked out in line, she's not a bad person. And if you show empathy to people and you show what your heart is, they'll show you their heart.
That's a wonderful thing to say. You have an army now that you've built.
I have.
Out in rural Virginia. Tell us about some of the candidates they're working for this year.
I have to tell you about one person in particular who is my sister in this war, who I thought I knew better. There's a woman in Northern Virginia whose name is Stacy Snyder. She's an artist. And about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, she said, I'm from rural Virginia, I want to help. And I thought, oh, you're in Northern Virginia, you're going to tell me how to do stuff in rural Virginia. And rural Virginians don't like that much. And that wasn't the case. And she chased me for weeks to get me to answer her phone call. And when I did, what I learned was there are a whole lot of people in Northern Virginia who want to help rural Virginia. And that's actually how we got the Blue Wave started. She and Stare Calhoun and Barbara Jones knew that what they have in Northern Virginia is wonderful. They have it easy. Democrats are abundant there. And that we needed bodies. Mm-hmm. We needed money. We needed other people to help us be our army. And so Stacy started helping with Rural Retreat through donations, through conversations, through bringing Northern Virginians down to rural Virginia. We've had busloads of people all over. There's a man whose name is Steve Baker, who's from Arlington. Every single week during this election season, he has brought groups of people from Northern Virginia to the rural districts to knock doors all weekend.
Boy, that's got to be hard to knock doors in rural Virginia.
It is. Sometimes you have to knock doors by driving between when the driveway itself is half a mile long. You just got to do it. He promised Abigail Spanberger 10,000 doors knocked before Election Day. And I have news for you. He's on crutches, but it's going to get done.
Wow.
Because he has been bringing 15, 20 people every weekend for the whole weekend. We've gotten supporter housing for them, and it's been an amazing experience. So my sisters in Northern Virginia, they have been the wind underneath our wings, supporting us, lifting us up, going to every rural locality. Last year we had somebody in the farthest reaches. If you go up from where they were, you would hit Detroit. That's how far west we go in Virginia. It's crazy. They sent people to do weekends of action and help run against a candidate who is running against one of the strongest members of the House of Delegates. There is no way other Virginians weren't doing it. But we now have fellow Virginians from Northern Virginia who feel that they're okay coming and helping other rural localities.
Do you want to come talk about a couple of the Democrats we have running this year out in rural Virginia?
There are some wonderful ones. Again, Abigail Spanberger, who is an amazing candidate, running in lots of rural localities. Her district has lots of rural parts. Vanjie Williams, she is a force of nature. Oh my God, she is incredible. Talk about someone who has their roar. She is unbelievable. Elaine Luria, again, has lots of rural parts of her district, getting out there after having served in the Navy all those years, now wanting to continue to serve. Phenomenal candidate. Jennifer Wexton's got lots of rural out in the western part of Northern. And she's doing great. So we've got some wonderful...
Jennifer Lewis
as well.
Got her?
Yep, we've got some wonderful rural women running in parts of Virginia where people didn't feel like it was okay to run. Those were safe Republican districts. Women found their roar all of a sudden.
And I think one of the most incredible meetings I ever had in rural Virginia, in Nelson County, last year in 2017, was with a group of farmers and activists protesting the two pipelines. How has that helped you in terms of, or has it helped in terms of energizing, gathering more people to make sure that everyone goes and votes?
Everybody in their heart, whether a male or female, has an issue that touches them personally. Whether it's someone like me who's had cancer several times, so healthcare is what's big to me,
right,
or the environment. The pipeline protesters have an issue that touches their hearts, and we need to galvanize that energy into something positive, which is to vote for candidates who will help with the environment.
You know, every time I've traveled down to the Southwest, I have always seen at least one rainbow.
There's a reason.
And there's a reason for that.
There is. Southwest is one of the most beautiful parts of the country, and it has been very neglected by everybody. When coal started to decline, a lot of interest left Southwest, and it's a shame because these are hardworking people. These are people who have spent generations there, and that a lot of the time, you're right, their kids have left because there are no jobs, and that's why I've concentrated on building a safety net of strong jobs, and concentrated on bringing opportunities to Southwest, because I lived there for 12 years.
And so you've recently just moved from Bristol.
Just moved the last 3 months. Yep.
And I love this house too because you got 3 dogs in the back, which now I do too. So your husband was involved in politics, elected politics.
Yep, my husband was an elected commissioner of the revenue for 4 terms. He decided, I'm very proud of my husband. He spent his whole life, except for law school, in rural Virginia. And he really taught me what it was to be a rural Virginian, and he taught me about what the life has been like there for people for generations. His family has been there since before there was the United States. His great-great-granddaddy is on the Appomattox roster. And but the proudest day of his life was casting a vote as an elector for President Barack Obama.
Wonderful.
He felt it had come full circle by doing that. His family was very poor, as are many people. Many people in rural Virginia are struggling still to this day. And my husband was one of those people who, the day marriage equality became the law in Virginia, he started performing same-sex marriage. He won an award from Equality Virginia because he performed so many same-sex marriages. People were coming from about 250 miles around. He was the only one who would perform marriages. Love is love. It was our honor. It strengthened our marriage to be part of that. And I'm very proud of the work he did. And so we're lucky enough he was appointed by Governor Northam to be a policy advisor in the Department of Criminal Justice. And I'm lucky enough to do my work for renewables here and be close to the General Assembly, but also still traveling all over rural. I mean, I'm on the road a lot, and I love it. I was just the other day in Dinwiddie. I get strength from what I see in rural committees. They are doing the hard work every day, and they never give up.
You know, I get strength from being with people like you, and understanding to breaking down some barriers to perceived impressions of rural Virginia. They're not all the same. They're not old. But you know, I think right here I found the rainbow that I always see is right over this house right here.
Thank you.
And I thank you so much for talking with me today, sharing with us how you found your war, probably many times over. And let's just keep on fighting. I know you travel hundreds of thousands of miles every day with these people. We have a lot of great folks here and a lot of hardworking people.
We do.
And so will you join me in when I say, thank you for joining me in Platitudes, Find Your Roar. Now here's where I do my part where I roar, and you can roar with me or you can laugh at me. Susan Platt, Find your roar.
Roar!